TJ Technologies is proud to sponsor today's Farm Basics. Micronutrients are essential for healthy and productive growth in lawns, gardens, and crops. Check us out at tjmicromix.com because it's the little things that make a big difference.
During our Farm Basics time today, we wanted to talk a little about road safety once again. Now, I know we just talked about this last fall, but you know what? There is nothing that is more important than safety on the farm and safety for you if you're a non-farmer and you're in an area where there are farm vehicles, especially during the spring. There's a lot of stuff moving around.
All right, let's talk about neighbor relations. When you're driving down the road and your neighbor's coming down the road too, maybe he's in a car. Think about how wide that car really is and how much of the lane that car really takes up. There's a good amount of room on either side of that car between the dotted line up the middle and the solid line on the outside of the road. But when you're driving your tractor down the road, there isn't a whole lot of extra room. In fact, you may have to creep over one line or the other just to get down the road. It's important that you keep that in mind as a farmer, but also that your neighbors keep in mind that, you know, there's going to be some bigger equipment coming down the road. I'm going to have to drive just a little bit different for maybe 1 or 2 minutes out of the day. Because after all, farmers are only going just a couple miles down the road to get to their field or to get back home. Let's just all think about the other guy out there on the road a little bit.
Well, here's one of the things that ends up being a problem. A lot of people feel that if a farmer is going down the road in a slow-moving vehicle like a tractor or a sprayer, that he should pull over to the side of the road and continue on. As a farmer, you're supposed to stay in the road. You're supposed to stay in your lane. You have every right to that road. Now, there are some freeways that you can't go 20 miles an hour. For example, on the interstate highways in our part of the world, you have to go a minimum of 40 miles an hour. But in terms of all the 2-lane and even many of the 4-lane highways through most of the country, you can go whatever speed you need to go, and you have to stay in your lane. So yes, if you have an oversized piece of equipment, sure, it's fine to try to hang over on that shoulder. But the trouble with if you move your tractor or whatever implement over onto the shoulder and you start driving there, if all of a sudden you need to swerve out for a mailbox or something else that you see that you're about to run into that's way over on the shoulder, you swerve back into traffic, well, now all of a sudden you're liable for any problems that may happen. So you just have to stay in your lane. And a lot of people I've even been riding with will say, well, that farmer should get over so I can go around him easier. That's just not the way it works legally.
Well, when you're a farmer, you can't really explain to people that are driving past you, hey, I'm doing my best job that I can, and I've got my equipment as small as I can get it for transport. And you say, wait a minute, this guy may be 12 feet wide. That's not very small, but when you think about the size of the equipment that's being used in fields today, many of these implements may be 60 feet wide or even wider. A lot of spray booms are 80, 90, even 120 feet wide. Farmers and equipment manufacturers are doing everything they can to be able to fold up this equipment or to spin it or turn it somehow to try and narrow that equipment up.
Well, once again, safety is a huge issue, especially during the spring when farmers are especially active out in their fields with tractors, sprayers, tillage equipment. They have a lot of things going on, so we would just encourage you, take a little extra time, give the farmer a break if you can, and if you're a farmer, do what you can to make sure you're not disrupting traffic any more than is absolutely necessary.
Well, as a farmer, sometimes you also need to remind non-farmers what a great job you're doing killing weeds like our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this tough weed?